Queer people live in the South. Poor people live in the South. People of color live in the South. The South of the United States is the most diverse region of the country to live in. And every couple of months, y'all get on here and completely disregard all of these people because these states tend to be red. Never mind that they are the most directly impacted by these laws that y'all say you hate. All this legislation passed by people who clearly do not care about their constituents, they are completely disregarded by y'all. Chappell Roan should still perform in the South because despite anti-LGBTQ legislation, LGBTQ folk still live here. In fact, all artists should still continue to come to the South because all people still continue to live here. And on a much bigger scale, I'll never forget the way y'all treated Texas during the big freeze a couple of years ago where people literally died and y'all said they deserved it. And for what? The people who live here are still human beings and deserve to be treated as such. So get off your high horse, stop acting like your neck of the woods is any better, and treat people with some decency.
In the next couple of years, the world's going to get really bad really quickly, but I don't want you to lose hope. I'm sure we've all seen those articles that are like young men are becoming more conservative, or we see the rise of fascism in Europe and the US, and we're like deeply concerned about the future. But the thing I urge you to remember is that a couple years ago, those things weren't considered politics. They were considered common sense. Men didn't think of themselves as conservative because they took sexism to be the underlying assumption of reality. So they think of themselves as progressive whilst holding deeply sexist ideas. As we're having discussions and forcing things out into the public light, people are being cognizant of what their actual beliefs are. These are beliefs that have been held for generations. They just were never spoken about. And just when you have an infection in your body, you need a temperature sometimes. Conflict isn't always necessarily a bad thing. We're having these discussions, which means that we're in a position. What I hope there is for bad people, there's definitely more for good people. More protests happened in the last year in the US than have in the last decades. People all across the world coming together in solidarity with people we've never met.
So Mr. Beast uploaded a video today, and obviously I clicked on it to watch it, and what I saw within the first 5 minutes was insane.
Oh, great heavens, Carter. What did you see in Mr. Beast's new video that was so insane?
And anyway, Chris gets out of the airplane wearing a very long wig. He's wearing really tight clothes and, makeup, the whole 9 yards. And I'm sitting here watching this video, and I just sigh and smack my fucking head.
Bro, you are deadass out here pushing 20. Complaining about a trans person and Mr. Beast. You cannot make this shit up. And I just saw a trans person and Mr. Beast and I just fucking smacked my head. I just couldn't deal with it. Like, I don't care about these little 12, 13-year-old kids running around saying, oh, I hate Chris Tyson. Chris Tyson's weird. Because I know in a few years they'll grow and mature out of that mindset. But the fact that a damn near 20-year-old man is out here distraught by this shit is crazy. Hey, bro, look at this shit.
Like, I straight up paused the video at that very moment. I was fucking staring at my screen, and then I went back to the old Mr. Beast videos just to get a glimpse of what the old Chris used to look like, and it was just so much.
What he's describing, by the way, nothing is being pushed in your face. Nobody even talks about it. It is just a trans person existing in media. I just don't get this shit at all. Grow up, bro.
Did you guys see the thing where some white guy was basically saying that he can't stand black people because apparently we smell aggressively like soap? This man really said they smell like they wash every single crevice and I can't stand it. Like, what? Are you okay? If he said that we sprayed too much perfume on or something, like, I would totally understand. Like, yeah, an overpowering perfume scent. But bro basically said we smell too clean. Like, what? Can you imagine him around all of his little racist friends and they're like talking about like all the reasons that black people are so annoying, and he's just like, oh God, You know what I can't stand? What, Todd? What can't you stand about them? Their smell. Yeah, like hopelessness and Mary Jane, right? No, not that. No? Then what do they smell like? Freaking lavender, man. I can't stand that. Anyway, this is my favorite soap to smell aggressively like. So, what's yours?
I'm not a female.
And now you're transitioning.
Yeah.
How is that?
I really enjoy it.
Okay.
I just didn't think I could ever do it. And then finally I got the confidence to say, you know, I'm going to try it. Okay, it is a different life.
Even while blocked, this woman still haunts me. This is honestly going too far at this point. You know, as humans, we have this stupid tendency to not do anything until the war, until the disaster, until the catastrophe is at our doorstep. Banging on the door and demanding rent. When are we going to collectively agree to ban the use of AI in this way? Because this is honestly the 10th video that I've seen of AI-generated images of either my politicians or literal celebrities today. I think people forget that if it's this realistic now, how bad do you think it's going to be in the next 5 years? We need to have a sanction, a cap, or something to better regulate this type of stuff, because I don't know how far this is going to go. And don't forget that we're still blocking this woman. Stand on business.
I always think that the leather pride flag is a Blue Lives Matter flag. End of TikTok.
I hate feminism because I have to work all day. I just want a man who takes control of everything. Being in a relationship where you're 100% provided for with no control over anything is not free. You will pay for that decision with the rest of your time. Because I see a lot of women on here who have righteous anger against capitalism, putting it towards the feminists, talking shit about the feminists, promoting this lifestyle of two young girls that's inherently incredibly dangerous, right? Because if you're in a relationship where you're doing years upon years of unprotected, unpaid labor, no good prenup, because that's not what a good woman does, you are putting yourself in danger. Okay, and now we're what? We're encouraging that sort of dangerous lifestyle to women because we're mad. And I get it, you know, you want to believe like, oh, my man is different. But in any human relationship, there is inherent risk. And promoting this sort of lifestyle to young girls puts them at so much more risk than average, right? Like, women need to have their own money. They need to have a backup plan. They need to have a good prenup. Why do you think there's so much content of trad wives who are like in their 40s now who get on here and say like, oh yeah, my man left, by the way, for somebody younger, more naive? Why do you think that is? Do you think that they didn't think that their man was different too? Now they have a hard time finding a job or providing for themselves after the divorce. Like, it's very much on par with the people who will encourage girls to start an OnlyFans when they're 18.
Well, first things first, have you thought about just apologizing? That was pretty bad.
Hello, but I'm not sorry.
All right, that definitely makes it harder.
Oh! Lamont, come in. No, I'm not scared of you. Some of my best friends are European American males. My cousin had a colleague whose coworker had an uncle who was a European American male. And after a while, they said they didn't even see him as European American anymore. Anyway, what brings you in, Tyrone? Your name's not Tyrone? Okay, don't tell me. Don't tell me. I'm gonna try to remember it. Give me a hint. What does it start with? H? Hungry? Hunter? Okay, I think I'm gonna call you Hungry. Just, it's a safety issue, more so than anything else. So Hungry, why are you here? You know, I love chit-chatting, but we are here to work. You feel like you're underpaid? Okay, your colleagues might get paid more because they have families they need to provide for. You have a family too? I love that. Well, that's why your wife probably makes more than you, right? She is your provider. So who's watching your kids while you're here playing boy boss? Have you considered that you're just working to pay the daycare boys? You'd probably be happier at home. You wouldn't be here complaining to me about money. Anyway, Tasty, off you go. Okay, sweetie, I have some things to do.
Dating T for T will not keep you safe from abusers, and honestly, it won't keep you safe from transphobes either. It's still like the beautiful, healing dating choice that we all talk about, but don't get so comfortable feeling like you're safeguarded from harm and abuse. Abusive trans people very much exist, and unfortunately, it can sometimes feel like trans spaces are full of abusers. In reality, I think that it's mostly that our communities often circulate information about shady and dangerous people really well relative to other spaces, and we see abusive behaviors with the appropriate amount of gravity. Every space is full of abusers. Trans spaces, you just might have a better idea who the abusers are, in my opinion. That being said, marginalized communities can face more issues with abuse and inappropriate behavior because those in those communities are more likely to face abuse themselves, and we know how the cycle of abuse will continue to perpetuate itself after causing harm. I still think, though, that queer spaces can sometimes feel less safe because we know about all of these abusive people, when in reality, that knowledge and keeping each other informed is what makes a community safe.
So you were studying statistics at the University of Chicago, and you say to yourself, I don't stand a chance with my 3.1. What did you do?
Well, I shaved my head, I trimmed my eyelashes, and I decided to join the organization of black students so I could apply to medical school as a black man. I also used my middle name, JoJo. I subsequently interviewed at medical schools across the country and managed to get waitlisted at Washington University and the University of Pennsylvania and got into St. Louis University School of Medicine, despite the fact that my pretty pitiful 3.1 GPA was dramatically lower than their average.
He was like, this 3.1 GPA is not going to cut it for my race. But if I act like a different race, I can have a lower GPA and still get in. Again, this is quite literally them lowering the standard for black people. And what that does is it puts into question if that black person is actually qualified.
Hey, Jeff. It's me again. A lot of you already know what the fuck's about to happen. I went live yesterday and I determined all bets are off for anybody who I previously decided I wouldn't make a video about, because it seems to me you guys are still doing the same shit every time I leave and come back. You would think that being publicly embarrassed as many times as Jeff has would get him to shift his tone, or at least, research anything slightly before he talks about it, but I guess the dollars are not paying him to do that. So let me keep this short, sweet, and to the point. This guy said he faked being black to get into medical school and then went on a media tour about it and released a book, the premise being that he couldn't get in with his scores as an Indian, so he faked being a black person, which means they're lowering the standards, according to Jeff. Except for the fact there's no point of reference for this dude's claim, considering he never applied to any of those medical schools as an Indian student in order to compare what would have happened. He talked to CNN and told them he applied at 22 medical schools, interviewed at 11, was waitlisted at 4, and only got into 1. Some great fucking black privilege. A spokesperson for St. Louis University, the school he got into, said that his MCAT scores and his science GPA met SLU's criteria in 1999. Mind you, this article was written in 2015, and Jeff Mead is trying to use this as a point in 2024. This is what? Approaching 30 years of bullshit in one video. Oh, but it gets worse. Chokol, the person who pretended he was black and then wrote a book about it, also said that he was harassed by police, store clerks accused him of shoplifting, and women were either scared of him or couldn't keep their hands off of him. It would be ashamed if a black person who's made an entire career talking about how these phenomena don't really exist or affect black people as much anymore pulled from a story in which someone who wasn't black pretended to be black and then immediately started experiencing the same things that this creator says doesn't really happen. Oh, but it once again gets worse, considering that Chokol then went on to attend UCLA when he identified as an Indian American for business school. Jeff, do you understand what you just did? Do I need to hold your hand and walk you through it? I'm not even going to explain to you the critiques about affirmative action and everything. Why is it that you keep making videos that are so easy to pull apart? Jeff, how come you haven't been able to pull apart any video that I've made about you? How come all of your responses have been pathetic and easily debunkable? And how come all of your main content is pathetic and easily debunkable? Jeff, why don't you care? Why don't you take this seriously? If you took it seriously, I think you'd look up anything before speaking. But it's been, what, 2 years since you've gotten on this app and you've yet to do that one time. Jeff, do us a favor. Open up Google, right? Type in study about systemic racism and read it, and then try to offer any coherent critiques of that paper, okay? And why you don't believe it. Please do that. and then you can continue talking. Like, I don't fucking know what to tell you at this point.